Okay, so I'm here in the Alternative Media Center in the All Stream building, and we're just waiting for the press briefing of the Prime Minister for the delegates, international delegates in the G8 who are in Muskoka. So I'm in the Alternative Center where all the other social media bloggers, independent alternative media are designated to report, and there's another center for the mainstream which is on the other side, and they have access to more facilities, plus they're able to go to the Deerhurst Resort where the delegates are going to speak for this G8 summit. We're still waiting for the Prime Minister to be broadcasted from Deerhurst. Anyway, so the center actually, there's free lunch, free meals, and so it's open from morning till midnight, and any of the alternative media and the mainstream media are actually fed during the summit. So it's, I guess the government's paying for all this.
On its core strengths, and where it will build a difference in development, international peace and security, and the leaders' discussions, which will take place today and tomorrow, are organized around this specific focused agenda. The leaders will have a full set of meetings ahead of them today. In a nutshell, the day will begin with an introductory discussion among leaders over lunch. This will essentially be a scene setter, touching on key trends affecting the world, and then leaders will move into discussing the global development landscape as the international community heads towards the Millennium Development Goals Conference this upcoming September. Leaders will look at global progress on the Millennium Development Goals, focusing on what more needs to be done by all local actors.
Are you going somewhere? Can I ask you the same thing?
Targets. There will also be a discussion, of course, on Canada's signature initiative, the Muskoka Initiative, on maternal, newborn, and child health. This is an important initiative, which is urgent and obviously needs international attention. In these difficult economic times, G8 leaders have chosen to carefully focus on the most vulnerable, where the needs are greatest. Canada is seeking new resources and new commitments from G8 partners on maternal, newborn, and child health initiative, and we are working to mobilize support from non-G8 members as well as private organizations and entities. This is essential for G8 leadership in mobilizing action. G8 leaders will then meet with leaders from Africa. As you know, the Prime Minister has invited the leaders of Algeria, Egypt, Ethiopia, chair of the Partnership for Africa Development, Malawi, chair of the African Union, Nigeria, Senegal, and South Africa. This meeting will continue a strong tradition of dialogue and cooperation between the G8 and Africa on development and peace and security challenges. Also to note, following this session, G8 and African leaders will join leaders from the three countries of the Americas, Colombia, Haiti, and Jamaica. This is Prime Minister Harper's initiative, and it's actually the first time that a dedicated outreach session with leaders from the Americas has taken place at the G8 Summit. The extended outreach discussion will focus on shared peace and security challenges, including the linkages between organizations and organized crime and terrorist networks that are of growing concern. In Latin America, in the Caribbean, West Africa, and parts of Asia, we have seen schools working together from regional problems. These networks are threats to all of our countries and regions, and cooperation is required. The leaders will conclude today's discussions with a working dinner later this evening, and the working dinner will allow for a wide-ranging discussion among leaders multilateral system to best respond to the growing number of global challenges.
And say they have the
Thank you very much.
Oh, there we go.
And we'll move to reiterated concerns with the North Korean regime, which is increasingly becoming unpredictably dangerous, and obviously that region and Japan will count on Canada's support. In terms of the meeting with Prime Minister Cameron, as you know, Prime Minister Harper met with Prime Minister Cameron a few short weeks ago. He was very pleased to see that Prime Minister Cameron is here today. Obviously, with all leaders, there was a discussion both around the G20 and the G8, because these bilateral meetings obviously are a good opportunity for the Prime Minister to get some one-on-one times with leaders. And with Prime Minister Berlusconi, they discussed both the importance of this G8 summit, peace and security, and they touched on the G20 summit, the importance of fiscal consolidation, which is something that Prime Minister Harper outlined in the letter that he sent to G20 leaders a few weeks ago. Thank you very much.
Anyway, the Prime Minister's speech, welcoming speech, it's not been broadcasted yet, and they're starting to set up some external speakers here because we were having problems listening to the press briefing by the Director of Communications on TV. So hopefully the speakers should make it easier to hear the media questions and the answers, and to hear the Prime Minister speak.
The sound system going now, and technical services is working on it. We hope the temperature will be at a more comfortable level in about 30 minutes. Thank you very much.
That's the official welcome by the Prime Minister of the G8 leaders, and I think most of the actual conversations are not going to be broadcasted. I guess these are just private business meetings between the leaders of the G8 nations. But anything that's available to the public and the media is going to be broadcasted and video recorded and put on the website of the G8 and the G20 websites. But I think while they're ongoing, I don't think we have access to what they're saying. We're not able to hear what's going on.
Walking in the woods.
Is that how they're doing their talk? Do you know if that's live? Is that live? And they're talking while walking in the park?
I've been birds now.
They're gonna watch the Spanish game now? They're gonna watch Spain?
Oh, yeah.
¿Tú por quién vas?
Ah, España. Bueno, no, en general no, pero este partido.
Is there sound? It's on the G8 website now, the broadcast of the Prime Minister welcoming the African countries in the outreach program.
There, that better? You happy now?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Colleagues, I will begin in a couple of minutes. We'll have the media in, at which point I'll make some formal remarks for the media, then they'll leave and we'll begin our meetings in earnest. So, I don't know, when should we begin? You want to look at this thing? Okay. Merci, chers collègues. Je tiens tout d'abord de vous souhaiter la bienvenue au Canada et dans la magnifique région de Muskoka, en Ontario. Let me begin by welcoming you to Canada and to beautiful Muskoka, Ontario. I know we have a lot of work to do in the hours ahead, but I do hope you're able to pause for at least a few moments and take in the natural beauty and hospitality for which this region of the country is so well known. I'd like to offer a special welcome to our new attendees here at the G8 meetings this year, to Prime Ministers Cameron and Khan, and also to President Van Rompuy. I'd also like to extend a special welcome to our African colleagues. I'm glad that once again we're able to build on the G8's strong tradition of outreach to African partners. Later this week, some of us here will join our colleagues in the G20. In the meantime, however, there is nothing that can substitute for the wide-ranging, frank, and intimate discussions that occur between old allies and longtime friends. En conséquence, notre ordre du jour de Muskoka mettra l'accent sur quelques dossiers urgents. des enjeux de la paix et de la sécurité, les défis du développement et surtout notre grande priorité de la santé maternelle et infantile. J'ai annoncé aujourd'hui notre nouvelle contribution qui porte notre contribution totale à près de 3 milliards de dollars sur 5 ans. We will discuss the Muskoka Initiative, a commitment of new resources to mobilize global action in reducing maternal and infant mortality and improving the health and lives of mothers and children in the world's poorest countries. I should mention that I've announced Canada's new contribution today, bringing our total contribution to nearly $3 billion over the next 5 years. Next, we'll look at a range of peace and security issues: nuclear non-proliferation, Iran and North Korea, terrorism, organized crime, and drug trafficking. Pour assurer la crédibilité et l'efficacité du G8, nous allons tenir un débat productif sur le renforcement de la responsabilisation. Nous devons donner suite à nos initiatives et tenir les engagements respectifs que nous y avons pris. Car si le G8 ne s'attaque pas aux problèmes les plus difficiles du monde, personne d'autre ne le fera. Let me repeat that. Accountability is the key. We must follow through on our initiatives and meet our commitments. If the countries with the greatest resources will not take action on the most urgent global issues, then who will? Le monde attend de nous non seulement des intentions, mais aussi des actes. Thank you for being here, and I look forward, colleagues, to our discussions on these important matters. Merci.
Started to inject liquidity, basically deficits. And this deficit money led to these huge budgetary deficits that we see today and a very fast accumulation of debt. In fact, the OECD, let me just tell you my
ici à Muskoka et de vous faire un compte rendu de notre journée. Nos discussions avec mes collègues du G8, des dirigeants africains et pour la première fois au G8 avec les dirigeants des Amériques ont été excellentes. Les dirigeants du G8 ont pris un engagement historique envers l'initiative de Muskoka sur la santé maternelle et infantile. Ensemble, les membres du G8 ont pris l'engagement d'une contribution de 5 milliards de dollars américains au cours des 5 prochaines années. Le leadership du G8 a aussi permis d'amasser d'auprès d'autres pays et fondations une contribution de 2,3 milliards de dollars, ce qui porte la contribution totale à 7,3 milliards de dollars. Nous aimerions remercier les Pays-Bas, la Norvège, la Nouvelle-Zélande, la Corée du Sud, l'Espagne, la Suisse, la Fondation de Bill Gates et la Fondation des Nations Unies et surtout aussi nos pays membres du TorontoTV. Et j'encourage d'autres pays et fondations à faire de même. Ensemble, nous avons pris l'engagement qu'un jour, sur cette planète, les femmes dans les pays en développement ne souffrent plus et ne meurent plus en raison d'une grossesse ou d'un accouchement. Very briefly, we had a productive day with G8 colleagues, African outreach leaders, and leaders from the Americas for the first time. G8 leaders made a historic commitment to the Muskoka Initiative on maternal, newborn, and child health. Together, G8 members have committed US $5 billion over the next 5 years. G8 leadership has also attracted donations and contributions from other countries and foundations of more than $2.3 billion for a total of $7.3 billion. In addition to our G8 partners, we would also like to thank the Netherlands, Norway, New Zealand, South Korea, Spain, Switzerland, the Gates Foundation, and the United Nations Foundation. And we encourage other countries and foundations to join us in this initiative. Together, we are committed to moving the world towards a day when women in developing countries will not die or suffer disabilities from pregnancy or childbirth.
Okay, everybody, thanks for coming. We have a few moments for some questions. We'll start with Theo Argydas with Bloomberg. If you could please stand and then we'll move towards you.
More of a G20 question, if I may. President Obama comes to Canada fresh off a victory in the U.S. vis-a-vis financial regulation. Does that victory in the U.S. for Mr. Obama move the ball forward for a G20 consensus? And are you confident that an agreement can be reached by the end of this year?
I'm confident that we will have a G20 consensus on a range of issues at the meetings in Toronto. Specifically on regulation of the financial sector. As you know, Canada has co-chaired that working group with India and the G20. We have a work plan that's being worked on in Basel. I believe the progress that the United States has made will be important in driving the world to not just to agreements here, but to conclusions on financial regulation within the kind of time frame we've been looking at.
Joël Denis, Relevance with La Presse.
Oui, Monsieur Harper, j'aimerais savoir, durant l'ouverture du G8, vous avez dit que les pays du G8, justement, devaient honorer leurs obligations. D'une part, pourquoi vous avez senti le besoin de dire ça publiquement, alors que vos collègues étaient là? Et quels moyens allez-vous prendre pour que les engagements qui sont pris maintenant seront respectés pour l'avenir envers les pays africains?
Comme vous le savez très bien, un de nos objectifs dans notre présidence, pas seulement du G8, mais aussi du G20, est d'encourager la responsabilisation de nos engagements pour le G8, le mécanisme que nous avons employé. C'est un rapport qui publiquement, qui a dit clairement et publiquement les résultats pour des pays différents. Je suis convaincu qu'avec un tel mécanisme, on va avoir une amélioration de nos performances pendant des années à venir. J'espère que le G20 va faire la même chose, mais franchement, G20 jusqu'à maintenant, nous avons eu des déclarations très précises sur des enjeux économiques. Et nous avons rassemblé régulièrement pour vérifier notre progrès. Alors, je suis convaincu, et j'ai discuté ça avec le président Sarkozy aujourd'hui, et je suis convaincu que la France s'est engagée à faire la même chose à l'avenir pour continuer cette tradition. Si nous pouvons établir ce pratique comme une tradition, je pense que ça va vraiment améliorer notre performance à long terme.
Omar Sashadina with TorontoTV. Please stand.
Mr. Harper, I'm just wondering if you support provincial legislation that gives police special powers to arrest anybody who's near these security fences, either in Huntsville or in Toronto.
Well, I generally don't comment on provincial legislation, and I certainly don't comment on police operational matters. Those are in the hands of the authorities, and we have confidence in the work they're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacques
Provincial
Forbeau.
legislation.
And Jacques Forbeau with Global.
Prime Minister, over the past few days, we've heard from a number of people in the aid community who say that the G8 is great at making promises, but not so great on delivering on them. So can you understand that there might be some skepticism that the G8 will actually deliver on this funding for this initiative?
Yes, I can. On the other hand, Jacques, I actually think the skepticism this time is not warranted. Let me be clear as to why. As you know, we have made one of the goals of our presidency to enhance accountability of the G8 for its actions. Obviously, we want to do the same things with the G20, but particularly with the G8. I've now been to, I guess this is my 5th G8 meeting. And as you know, this is the first time we have had a full accountability report actually presented publicly to review our performance and to hold people's feet to the fire. My observation here has been that because of this report, and also frankly because of the tight budgetary situations that we are seeing in many countries, my observation has been that leaders have actually been very, very cautious in terms of the pledges they have made. I don't think you will again see leaders go out and make pledges that they don't intend to keep or that they really haven't thought about very thoroughly. In fact, as I say, I've noticed this time how thoroughly finance ministers and finance departments have been involved in the pledging process because of the accountability exercise and because of the budgetary situation. So I think any money we get here pledged to this particular initiative, I'm confident that that money will be delivered. I think now what will really be incumbent upon us will be to take the focus of accountability simply beyond the issue of dollars and to make sure people who are actually accountable for results, that the money is well used and achieves with it what we want to achieve.
Emmanuel Latraves with Radio Canada.
Monsieur Harper, une précision sur le 5 milliards de dollars. Est-ce que c'est tous des nouveaux fonds au même chapitre que le milliard que vous avez annoncé pour le Canada? Et surtout, quel message est-ce que ça envoie? Le fait que cette fois-ci, le G8 est ratifié plus large, est sollicité à l'extérieur de ces rangs?
Premièrement, pour répondre à la première partie de la question, c'est clair, je voudrais être clair, que quand je parle de 5 milliards de dollars et un autre 2,3 milliards de dollars de des autres sources, je parle de nouveau argent. Et cette chiffre est tout à fait de nouveau argent. Il y a aussi, comme je viens de mentionner, le Canada est engagé plus d'1 milliard de dollars de nouveau argent ici, mais ça ajoute à notre total qui est maintenant près de 3 milliards de dollars, et ce 5 milliards de dollars ajoute évidemment à des fonds qui existent déjà par nos partenaires. Qu'est-ce que c'est le message? Je pense que le message est clair. Malgré les difficultés financières de la grande majorité des pays du G8 que nous prenons au sérieux encore, nos obligations envers les pays en développement, envers les mères et les enfants à travers le monde. Et c'est vraiment important. Et ça indique aussi, si je peux mentionner, la pertinence du G8. Parce que c'est vrai que dans beaucoup de domaines, on a besoin d'un groupe plus grand pour vraiment obtenir des résultats, mais nous représentons encore des pays les plus riches et en effet les plus puissants du monde, surtout les plus puissants sur la capacité de mobiliser des fonds pour des causes humanitaires. Et je pense que notre performance ici indique cette capacité, indique notre volonté et aussi indique la capacité de G8 de rallier des autres à une cause.
Campbell Clark with Globe and Mail.
Prime Minister, you said that you found it that leaders were very cautious about their pledges. I mentioned the $5 billion sum for the G8. Canada has pledged $1.1 billion, so 20%. So I wonder if you could tell us, did all of the G8 countries contribute, or the G7 contribute to this initiative? Can you break down those figures for us? Did they all contribute comparable sums?
All countries contributed. It is true, as is always the case in these initiatives, some countries pledge relatively more than others, at least relative to the size of their economies. This obviously, the differences in pledges have to do with differences in priorities, but also I think just as importantly differences in financial situations. As we all know, Canada has far and away the strongest financial position, fiscal position of any country that's sitting around that table today. And of course, this has been, as you know, our flagship initiative for this particular conference, so I thought it was more than appropriate that Canada lead with a disproportionate contribution. And I think this will be strongly supported by the Canadian public. My experience has been, I've said this to my fellow leaders, I've also said it to the non-governmental organizations I've met with that work in this field. You know, you'll hear negative things said about foreign aid, about assistance of this kind, but only in the abstract. As long as people can see their money being used on things that are important, that really change the lives of people, that make a difference, money that is used effectively, people will support that. You know, of all the things we could spend our money on, who wouldn't want to spend a little bit of money to save the life of a mother that might otherwise die, or ensure that a child, for only a few cents through a few treatments or a few vitamins or whatever, who wouldn't want to spend a few cents to make sure a child is able to live a healthy life and grow up to adulthood? All people need to see, and all they need to be convinced of, is that the money they're giving will make a difference. And as I say, we're now delivering money, so the second part of accountability will be ensuring that that money is used effectively and we see the results.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Okay, well, for that.